Hello, folks, and welcome to this special Let's Talk podcast. And today we're going to be talking about Games Workshop upcoming games and also, is there a potential for burnout? Today, my guest is the incomparable Oathmaster.
This year in 2026 is going to be the year of Warhammer, especially 40K at the very least, it sounds like.
Yes, now let's set the ground rules to this podcast, people. One, we are not covering the tabletop side because let's be honest, that could have its own video if we want to because, oh boy, the state of that side is quite an eyesore. But today we're on the gaming side of the spectrum. We're covering a lot of games that have been announced for not only for 2026, but also hinting at 2027. So we do have a lot to cover around in this little expansion of games that are coming to the gaming world. And to
Yep, and
yep, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I have nothing to really add there.
Yep. So we're going to start with the fact we've got this now practically on the screen. Let's talk about Blood Bowl's rebranding because that was the first major announcement that was coming out before the others came out. So what's your thoughts on that about the new rebranding of like Blood Bowl?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how exactly is it being rebranded. I know the new rules and the highs were recently released there because you showed them to me just the other week at least. So what's this rebranding about?
Right. So for those who have been paying attention to my channel, if you haven't heard, Blood Bowl 3 is ending at the end of this season, which is currently the Chaos Dwarf season. When that ends, it will be rebranded from Blood Bowl 3 to Warhammer Blood Bowl.
Huh, kind of interesting. But guess the idea is to try and make it easy to recognize for newcomers, I suppose, especially now that Blood Bowl is slowly getting more popular, maybe. But yeah, the weirdest thing with Blood Bowls is kind of its own spin-off universe. It's not even in the traditional sense of the lore of Warhammer as we know it, from what I recall. It's
True,
kind of its own thing.
but here's the thing that I think what's going on. It might be what's happening with Overwatch at the moment. Now, if people did not hear about Overwatch, Overwatch 2 is also leaving, and it's going to be rebranded as just Overwatch. So, I believe the same right. Warhammer Blood Bowl is going to be like, right, this is the definitive Warhammer. Any new teams or any updates, it's going to go through that game, and that game only. That's what I think is happening.
Yeah, if Blizzard had stuck with Overwatch 1 and did something like that, it could be a good idea. If so long as they have put the time, money, and investment into it, because Overwatch 1, as it was before these odd decisions, could have still been relevant to this day, I would argue, especially with how much enjoyment I had of it when I played it briefly.
Oh yeah, but I think that's what they're trying to do with Blood Bowl because I think it makes sense in the long run when you think about it. Because let's be honest, it's pointless making a new game with new rules. It's pointless because Blood Bowl 3 at the time has not released every team yet, and it looks like they're bringing out each team every season. So I think it's their way of saying, look, instead of like just shutting out a new game every couple of years, why not just use the main game, Bubble Free, as the main game and just bring out the teams as they GW makes them, if that makes sense.
Kind of like going with the free to play kind of mindset almost. With like, I remember playing MechWarrior was online there a whole lot, and that basically is still running after 15-ish years, I think roughly 10 years. And even though it's really outdated, uses a different engine than MechWarrior 5 there that we did our Let's Plays on, it's still basically getting content just because it's the only PvP way to play MechWarrior at the moment. So maybe it's that mindset there. So long as the engine can keep up with the longevity, how long the game might be going, it might be worth it over time.
I mean, we've already got confirmation of the two new teams that are coming out for the next season, which is the team you've been waiting for, the Bretonians and the Khemri.
Yes, yes. Gotta love me some Bretonian Knights, and I'm curious to see how their new roster plays out.
Indeed. But this also opens up the door for Blood Bowl, in my view, which is if this game is going to be like the de facto, say, right, every Blood Bowl iteration and new team and rules is going to go through that game, it does save money on like development costs when you think about it.
Yeah, ultimately, I do like the idea there. It's just a matter does it have everything under the hood to kind of allow for the game to last potentially as long as it would see if they commit to this route. Because after all, it'll be like another 10, 15 years. If Blood Bowl, our online game that we did our seasons on, our YouTube leagues, if it can continue to last for long enough time and still be popular to warrant it.
I agree on that, but I kind of feel it will continue because we have got some confirmation that GW has stated there are more teams on the way. They haven't said what yet, but the fact that the High Elves are the very last legendary team that's been done, and they said they're not done with Blood Bowl, at least we believe there's more coming. It's just the question is, this is the question I think we're going to throw out here. Will it do what Warhammer did with bringing Cafe in as an army for the game only, but then eventually got their own models? Or will they wait until see what GW brings out? If you get what I mean?
Yeah, well, yeah. Basically, we've been seeing lots of new content there, even like for Total Warhammer 3 there. Let's see, we have the Pirate Coaster, which is, I think, a completely original faction since they're not in Warhammer Fantasy, from what to my knowledge.
No, they're
As kind
not.
of an example of that.
That well, technically they are in the Dreadfleet and Man of War games, but they were separate, like naval combat games.
Yeah, you kind of need naval stuff, and then vampires in general, I don't think were known for their ranged capabilities, let alone fighting on boats. If that in that case.
Yep. I mean, at the same time of Blood Bowl, I feel this is an open door opportunity for for the developers to say, look, GW, if you've got any concept for a team that you're thinking of doing and you're not sure if it's worth making the models, why not give them to us? We'll play it on the game, and if people like it, it'll give you a bit of an indication, like free advertising.
Yeah, it really comes down to what relationship they have with Games Workshop and how cooperative Games Workshop is with all these developers. Because let's be honest, I think there's been Games Workshop has been kind of all over the place during its history of allowing people to make their video games. Sometimes I think we had like 50 Warhammer 40k games at one time, and most of them were like crap because they gave it the license to pretty much everyone. And now they're kind of being a little more strict. So I suppose it depends on how happy Games Workshop has been with Cyanide to kind of do Blood Bowl so far.
That is true. I agree with you on that. But at the same time, I kind of feel they could trust Sinai because, let's be honest, all three of their Blood Bowl games have been hits. All three of them, right?
Yeah, Blood Bowl 3 definitely has been rough at the beginning there. I really do like the potential of it. It just comes down again to all the systems under the hood there to kind of allow for the longevity that they're at least setting themselves up for.
Yeah, I mean, I agree Blood Bowl 3 did have a very rough start, even I was critical of it, but nowadays it does feel a lot more polished, a lot more stable now.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate all of these games that we're used to now with new releases kind of goes through this experience. It's a whole new world than when we were growing up, essentially.
Yep. So, the way I see it is, and I'll be honest, I kind of feel that in the long run, I think this idea they're having with Blood Bowl might be for the best because one, it does save development costs. Two, it gives GW a bit of a blank canvas to experiment with certain teams that they're thinking, "Oh, will they work on the tabletop or will they work with general public?" And go, you know what? Let's put them in the Blood Bowl game, see the reaction. People like them, do not like them, and if they like them, we'll make models for them.
Yeah, I definitely like the potential overall. It's just again the uncertainty, the relationship that we are not privy to make that kind of work the way we would at least envision that we're dreaming about it working.
Hmm. True, true, true. And like you said before about the whole thing about the video game license, I mean, yeah, you're right. 10 years ago, they were literally just throwing license to anyone that moves. And at the moment,
Yeah, Games Workshop games were everywhere essentially, and
yeah,
most of them weren't really good.
no, the only good ones at the moment are the Total Wars, the Blood Bowl, Mordheim is still good, and believe it or not, 40k Tacticus is still good.
40k Tactics, yeah, I actually played. Yeah, we're talking about the mobile game, right? I
Yep.
played that for a couple of years. I even led my own guild there. I had a lot of fun with it. It is kind of like just feels kind of grindy, but it did have a lot of additional game modes that I had a lot of fun with, especially the Guild Wars. I actually have a reason to use other squads except just power leveling one. I definitely enjoy it, but I did drop off of it just a few months ago, essentially.
Well, considering they've just recently released the Votan into the whole this, so
Yep, I heard about that there.
Yep. So that's the thing with GW games. They tend to do that. But I
Yeah,
f- go ahead.
yes, yeah. Speaking of like mobile games, there, I had just gotten into like the Tacticus version. That's well, not Tacticus, but Supremacy. That's now in beta there of Total Warhammer 40k, and that's kind of fun
Mm,
and not very grindy. Apparently, it's just time commitment, I suppose.
mm, probably. But other than that, let's shuffle on to because I think with Blood Bowl, the only thing I want to see with Blood Bowl as well is they bring out Gutter Ball and the Sevens into this game and say, right, give us options to play the game differently and quicker. And I mean, if you have Sevens and Gutter Ball in this game, it would take off because a lot of people could play these quicker games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, different game modes are definitely nice, especially as faster periods are definitely warranted. Although we did have that weird period with Blood Bowl 2 where I can't remember what it's called, Deathmatch or
Yeah,
whatever it's called there, that they eventually made into its own game mode to try to encourage people to play, or its own
yeah,
game rather. I'm gonna see if I can find it in my Steam library.
yeah. I know what you're talking about. I think it was Blitz. I think it was called.
It basically was a real time version of Blood Bowl, but you only had like 5 players, and then you had like a star player all the time for depending what team you were playing as.
Yeah, I think I recall that game, but that was the thing, though. I mean, if they bring those into Blood Bowl, I think Blood Bowl will have a very nice and long future. If you know what I mean?
Yep, so long as they work well there. That's the main thing. Okay, there's Blood Bowl Death Zone is what it's called.
Ah, that's it, Death Zone. But anyhow, I think that's Blood Bowl out of the way. Let's shuffle on to the next one. Now, this one, as we may know, has not had an official trailer yet, but it has been announced in development, and that is Space Marine 3.
Yes, yes. Titus is going to be coming back, and with the narrative of Games Workshop, I really wonder if we're going to be doing that 500 Worlds campaign or if it's going to be part of that story arc.
Well, that's the thing, though. We don't know what's happening with that at the moment. I mean, we've already read. If anyone's read the campaign book of the 500 Worlds, I've read it, and I'm not going to spoil it because some people might not have read it yet, so I'm going to leave it at that. But
Yeah.
I kind of feel this at the same time. I kind of feel this is a bit too soon.
Well, it really does come down to how long it takes till Space Marine 3 actually comes out, because Space Marine 2 was in development for a while, I think, at least when they announced it, so time will tell. And for all we know, it may not even be related to 500 Worlds, which, considering certain lore updates on characters, that might actually be a way to deal with the backlash that's been going on about a certain character or two.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, I mean, Space Marine 3, you have to end the Leandro story. That's one story they've got to sort out, haven't they?
Well, we know he was kind of there with Titus at the end, so again, there's a lot of routes they can go. It would be nice to actually see what Titus is doing firsthand in the 500 Worlds campaign, which is their big, what is it, crusade kind of campaign they have for a tabletop game. But I could definitely see it just extending after what happened Space Marine 2 and Secret Level.
Yeah. But at the same time, though, like I said, they're gonna have to really rock the boat with Space Marine 3 because all I could say is, please, for the love of all that's Emperor, just don't don't bring in the chaos again. Just leave them out for a time because I'm getting a bit sick of certain races, getting shellacked. Like you had the orcs who were like the first half villain were fun, but then they brought out chaos. Went okay, fair enough, chaos showed up. Then they did it again with with the ninjas. Like, come on, give them the time to have the big starring role. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think I'm too worried about that because we got plenty of other antagonist factions we can fit in really well there. Drukari would probably not be a main antagonist because it would be hard to kind of like have a big world-ending plot point with them considering they just like to enslave. But I could definitely see Necrons make an appearance since they were teased a lot in Space Marine 2.
I agree. I mean, I'll be honest, right? The combat and all that, I don't have a problem with. The graphics, I don't have a problem with. As long as they keep it to all that way, I'm cool. But it's just what I want to see is whatever antagonist they pick, let them have the full game. Don't just go right. We're gonna pick this antagonist, right? That's it. Now chaos shows up. It's like, oh, for God's sake, we're sick of the sight of chaos at the moment.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not too worried about that there. It's just a matter of the plot that makes sense, I suppose.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I can't argue with that. But all we could do with that game is just wait and see when that shows up.
Yep, because especially a new season, from what I understand, Space Marine 2 just came out with the Tech Marine.
Yes, yeah, it's a new season of Tech Marine, but from what I'm hearing, it's just a small like mission with him, which to me, all well and good, but I would rather want a big like, at least a decent chunk story arc with it. If you know get what I'm saying?
I was just more interested in if it being a full-on playable class for both multiplayer and then your operations, essentially, as well as some really tough and impactful type of operation missions that came with that update.
Mm, true, but I think we'll have to wait and see on all that's happening. But let's move on to another game which we all know is coming to an end, and that is the Total Warhammer game.
Aww.
Yeah.
It was a fun ride for us there. We have such fond memories like the Black Templar Charity Fund.
Oh, good grief. Yeah. But
Mwahahaha.
but the thing is, though, I mean, now that we know that Nagash is on his way, the end times is about to begin, that's telling us that Total Warhammer is about to wrap up. Probably it's got like probably 3 or 4 more DLCs left before it wraps up. And
Perhaps there.
but
And end times and all that, Age of Sigmar, I don't think. Well, Age of Sigmar here is maybe slowly getting more popular, I guess, but it definitely got a bad rap when the original Warhammer Fantasy died to be replaced for Age of Sigmar, at least, which is what the was it with dang it, I forget what the end times there is basically kind of leading up to, essentially.
yeah, but oh boy. If you want to talk about that mess, we'll have to do a video on that if we want to, but trust me, I know the full story of that mess, and let's just say it was an absolute train wreck.
And very awkward for Creative Assembly, because, yeah, just as GW did that, that's when Total Warhammer 1 essentially came out.
Yep, and it was thanks to that game that caused another controversy, but we'll have, like I said, that's on the model side. We'll have to leave it there, unfortunately. But
I guess. Let's talk about video games.
yep, I mean that's the thing about Warhammer, like free. It's like you said, we had a brilliant ride. In my view, one of not Creative Assembly's best games they've ever did.
Yep, it definitely had some rough periods, and they definitely had some questionable DLC choices. And was it day one content for the chaos being behind a paywall and all that?
Oh,
But yeah,
that was
they
bad.
took some. Yeah, they definitely took some leaps there compared to their traditional medieval Total War and Shogun.
Yeah, and that was the thing about it. I mean, they're doing it again with the next game we'll talk about, but at the same time, you have to give Creative Assembly credit. They were ballsy to bring Cafe, a faction that has always been mentioned in lore but never explored. And
Yep, and who knows how much of that may have been the reason why Cathay is now in Warhammer Fantasy at this point.
correct. So, and that's the thing. When you look at the with the Total Warhammer 3, I mean the fact that we're going to get Nagash, which is we've waited a long time for him to show up. It's going to be interesting to see how they're going to do, like how they're going to give it a proper send off.
Yeah, it'll be interesting indeed there. I know if with end times I want one certain thing to be canon, that's what is it? Gorguts there or Grimgore rather. I'm mixing up our two favorite orc players or orc characters. I want Grimgore to be having a nice encounter with Archeon there. And we know how that ends.
Yeah, unfortunately, that one you're referring to is non-canon, which sucks.
Boo!
Yeah, but I agree with you. I would love to see like how it gets a proper send off because, let's be honest, the books and the campaign did not do it proper justice.
Yeah, some weird things. Like I think the Druki or is it the Dark Elves, some of them
Yeah.
ended up becoming the good guys there. What is it? Eldrad or something ended up going crazy or something. I never looked at any lore. This is
no.
things I heard about.
Yeah, I can explain all that at a later date, but at the same time, it does show one thing about Creative Assembly. They took a concept like Warhammer and they ran with it, and it became one of their best products for such a long time.
Yep. And they are milking it now with all the DLCs. So long as it's good enough quality, I guess.
Yep. And speaking of Creative Assembly, let's talk about the game that I think everyone is waiting to play.
Yes. Yes. Let's talk about it. Don't keep us in suspense any longer.
Yep, and that is Total Warhammer 40k. Now, as you know, well known on this channel, I have stated on multiple occasions I've heard the rumbles and the rumors that it's being made. I just didn't know when it was going to come out until the Game Awards, when we finally got the trailer to say, "Oh, here it is."
It's finally happening. We're all excited for that, although it does mean it looks like it may be a nerd wild step into a different type of style for him. Because from what we saw very briefly, the gameplay, it looks like we're doing like maybe one or two major battles on each of these plants, and then we're basically traveling the stars for who knows how much of the game.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I actually learned. Now, came from a German magazine that got translated, and this is the interview they said, and I quote these words: "There is going to be three styles of playing Total Warhammer 40k. You have the Swift Strike version, which is basically 30 minutes, battle, done, dusted, right? Then you've
Yep,
got
multiple game modes.
Yep. Then you've got the normal style, which is basically what we're playing in Total Warhammer. And then you've got the Grand campaign, which is basically the stars, but that takes
Yep,
longer.
Yep, their kind of version of Mortal Empires, I suppose. And they talked about some weird persistence or something going on there where your main campaign will impact how things happen in other campaigns, or at least visually it'll look like Imperials may have won one sector while you're battling out as another, as Chaos or Eldar, essentially.
Yeah, the way that's working, they said, and I read that as well. They said that whatever you do in a campaign mission, say you protected another chapter, right? You helped out another chapter. Then in another mission, they could come and help you if you've helped them. So it's like kind of like progressive storytelling slash like random generated storying. If that makes sense.
Even if it's just flavor and for aesthetics there, I kind of like the idea of a progression system because we kind of get that a little bit with our Helldivers campaign. Never mind the brief period we play with PlanetSide 2, where you kind of see everything happening in the background there, even if you're not actively taking part in it.
Yeah. I mean, we know of the three races that are in it. Well, essentially four if you count the guard.
Yeah, there are different factions at very least, different play style, I would imagine, compared to Space Marines. So
Hmm. I mean, we know the orcs are there, which is the one of the main antagonists. Then you got the Eldar, who play a lot different than the orcs and the Marines, and then you've got the Space Marines and the Imperial Guard, essentially. Now, I know some people
yeah,
say about the Imperial Guard, no, they're not the proper faction, they're not the faction in this game. I disagree. You've seen them in the battle, they were battling, they're there. It's just the question you got to ask yourself is, will they be playable at launch, or will they be like a later faction that you'll become playable with them?
yeah, it's just kind of weird. We only have one potentially antagonistic faction, which isn't really evil. They just like to cause trouble everywhere. They're like a vermin almost. So I wonder if we're going to get additional factions, especially like Necrons or Chaos as we get closer to release.
It's possible, but this is what I think they'll probably do. One of the things I think they will do is what they did with Total Warhammer. They'll have the first game, which will be the base setting, which is like, okay, we're only gonna have 6 races, a few focus chapters and focus factions, and then the next game will have another like batch come in kind of deal. If you know what I mean?
Just basically our most generic factions that are kind of always present, essentially.
Essentially, yes. Because I kind of feel that is one of the things I think they might do. Because I mean, if we think about it for a second, right? Take a look at Warhammer 1. There was really only like 4 or 5 factions to begin with, right?
Pretty much, yeah. And it was a slow ride getting to where we are now with Total Warhammer 3.
Yeah, it took us a decade to get over there. But at the same time, our patience with that game was well rewarded, because as the game progressed to number 2, we had a lot of updates and a lot of new races. And then 3 came out and was like the remaining races that we didn't get came out and a more polished and more condensed game.
Yep, and everything basically being integrated together into one massive campaign that everyone's kind of favorite game mode, as opposed to these odd story campaigns we get.
Oh yeah, I think that's what they'll probably do with this one as well because it would make more sense. Because let's be honest, you really can't put all the races in at once because if you did that, it would just cause absolute chaos and the game file size would be astronomical.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it takes so much time to get all the factions in right away anyway. So we're fine with it developing slowly over time. It definitely will hopefully be well worth it if Total Warhammer is any indication. It's just interesting the choice of factions because we got three arguably good allies, or at least trying to find balance in the galaxy. They just may hate each other with the Eldari and the Imperium, of course, and then just a bunch of orcs that are having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, we have no legendary lords announced, so this is what's interesting me. It's like who are going to be the legendary lords?
Well, we know a good handful of them, but of course, we only have our. If it's like Total Warhammer, we're only going to have our choice of two per faction, maybe, and then DLC will add more in over time.
Yeah, but there's one thing that's got me concerned and a lot of community concerned. Now, for those who did not watch the trailer of the Total Warhammer trailer, I do recommend you watch it. The UI looked a little bit like a MOBA game.
That's criticism I heard about at the very least there. So, of course, if, who knows how the quality of the video itself was to kind of see all the details properly.
Well, the thing is though, when I looked at it and it looked like a mobile game, I thought, oh, please, Create Assembly, don't go down this route because I've seen that one before, and that was when in Dawn of War 3, and we all know how that went.
What game are we talking about again? I only heard of Dawn of War 2 jumping in Dawn of War 4, right?
Yeah,
Well,
fair
it's
enough.
just like it's like Windows. No, it's like what is it? Windows 8 going to Windows. Well, left. What is it? I forget. I forget the joke of Windows. Is it Windows 7 to Windows 9 to Windows 11 or something?
I think that's a joke, yeah. But that's the thing, though. That's what worries me. But at the same time, I've got a bit more faith with Creative Assembly because I kind of feel, well, they took Warhammer, ran with it, made it a good game. I think they could do it, but they do need to release a beta for people to test. Not an enclosed beta, a proper like online beta for like say for 1 week that people like us could grab the game and say, right, let's go nuts and see what it's like. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Although probably unlike our other game that we're going to be talking about soon, this what is it? Total War Hammer 40K is probably still a long ways out, maybe close to the end of the year. So we may not get that beta anytime soon if there is one going to be coming out.
That is true, but at the same time, this is where we're going to have to question about the timing of this game. But we will get to that in a minute. But first things first, let's talk about the final game, the one that's pretty much on the horizon, probably could be coming out sometime either late spring or early summer. And that's the game that we've been hoping that will come back to prominence, Dawn of War 4.
Yay! King's Art is doing the game. I'm happy. I enjoyed Iron Harvest so much.
Yeah, that was surprising to me when they were picked to do it. I thought this could get interesting.
I heard a rumor about like a couple of years ago that King's Art was pitching Games Workshop about doing Dawn of War 4. I just couldn't really remember where I heard that rumor from though.
Well, this is the thing that about Dawn of War 4, and that well, let's put the cards on the table before we talk about gameplay and what's gonna happen. They've got to get this right on the first shot because if this fails, that's it for Dawn of War. I think Dawn of War is done. They've got to get this
Yeah,
right.
a lot of things could go wrong there because even delaying the game there is gonna be really bad for them just because it's gonna push them right next to Total Warhammer if it does come out at the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. We're not talking about like GTA 6 level of delays here. We're talking about any form of delay or any misstep, bad UI or bad gameplay or bad buggy problems. And I think Dawn of War, the franchise, is pretty much dead in the water.
We'll see what happens. What is it? Late alpha invites were sent out like a couple times in November and December, so we are getting relatively close, I would think, to a beta to see how it looks.
Yep. But one thing I do like about the Dawn of War 4, what they've explained, is that you get the choice of two like characters in the faction.
Yeah,
Because
that'll be interesting there.
well, we already heard about the orcs. Because in the orcs you get two choices. You either become the Beast Snagger faction or you become the Bamboos faction with Gorguts.
Yeah, and the other ones there would be the Space Marines there, which we apparently get completely different type of units on those sub factions. So I wonder if Orcs it's going to be the same way or not.
I think it is, yeah, because we know from the Space Marines it's going to be the Liberia, the Deathwing Terminator Captain and Cyrus. They're the two that are going to be the main two leaders.
Yep, Blood Ravens and the Dark Angels, with appearance to of the big boy himself at some point in the game.
Yep. We know the Mechanicum's got two, but we haven't figured out who they are yet, and that's
We potentially know who one of the Necrons is going to be because we
yeah,
see him in the trailer. That
yep,
Cryptek, is it?
yep, the Cryptek. So the other one is gonna be a Chronomancer or some sort of that ilk, or Crypt Guard.
Maybe only one way to find out.
Yeah, we'll find out once we get news on that. But I kind of feel that is a one of the big things I think that could save the game was saying, look, yes, you can still play these races, but you've got two options of way of playing. Do you play the shooty kind of the orcs, or do you want to play the close combat, like snarling beast snaggers?
Yeah, it can be an interesting way to kind of mix up all the factions too by adding new heroes and leaders you can take that have slightly different units for each one that you have.
Mm, I would say that would be an interesting like twist. But the question I also have is, will they add more factions, or will they say, right, these are
Well,
the all four you're gonna get, because the rest of the
well,
factions
probably for
are going to be in
yeah for
Total Warhammer.
yeah for base release, it's probably going to just be these four, and then as we get DLC, we'll get additional factions. Just a question if we're just going to get one drip fed like we did with the other Dawn of War games, and they have to deal with the fact that with their DLC, they're going to deal with Total Warhammer 40k for competition at that point.
Yeah, and to be honest, this is what worried me when this came out. I was thinking these two are too close together. Why? I mean, I don't mind if Total Warhammer came out like 2 years later, and then Dawn of War took the reins for the first 2 years. But the fact that they're so close together, it's like this could end up hurting one or the other.
Yeah, there is enough difference to them there. Like, what is it? Dawn of War 4 is more real time strategy, where Total Warhammer is basically a more tactics type of game. Sure, it's real time as well, but all your base building is on a turn based overworld. So there is enough difference there. It's just a matter of the scale, because Dawn of War will be a lot more smaller scale and more active as opposed to Total Warhammer.
True, true. I can't argue with that. But at the same time, though, I kind of feel this is where the burnout segments come in now, where I have a bad feeling that with all these games coming out in the near relative closeness, could there be a chance of a burnout? Because if you look at like take for example the superhero genre, we're burnt out as hell from that. We're tired of it. We're sick of it. You know, they keep pumping them out all the time, and we're just tired of it. Could this be the case with like Warhammer games that we are like? Could we get burnt out because of the amount of content that we're getting, and we get a bit tired of it? You know what I mean?
It all really comes down to how well these games are at launch. I have more faith in Dawn of War 4 at least doing decently on launch, and they kind of have to. They don't really have much of a choice if they want to succeed. And who Crave Assembly have been hit or miss with some of their games, but they're also a bigger studio with different teams working on different versions of their Total War games.
Yeah, but at the same time, we know Creative Assembly is doing Total War Medieval 3, which is I was surprised they were doing that as well. So, I mean, we can agree that the Total Warhammer 40k is the big leap. They're gonna try something that's well out of their comfort zone and say, right, if we can get this right, who knows what IPs they can get the hands on.
Yep, the sky's the limit there. Heck, they even teased how the Eldari are going to be basically not having any bases at all, just replenishing their troops at their craft world, which is essentially off the galactic map, it seems. If I remember hearing that properly.
Yeah, it should be interesting to see how that goes. But like I said, at this point, we have to be realistic with like with Total Warhammer 40k and Dawn of War, we need the beta to have a look at them to see if they're going to be, you know, up there with the best. Because if they don't get it off the ground right, now let's be honest, right? Creative Assembly can be forgiven because their project is ludicrously ambitious, so they can get a little bit of leeway. But the Dawn of War side, however, it can't. It has to hit the ground running literally at launch.
Yep, and I do have faith King's Arc can pull it off there. It's just a matter of how much time they had to work on this before actually announcing it. Or how close do they feel they're going to be to getting it ready for arguably around summertime, I'm thinking.
Yeah, they've got to release a beta though. That's the thing. If they have any sense, release a beta for us to try, us to play, and hopefully tell them, look, this is working, this is not working. You need to quickly fix it before actual release.
Yep, and at least we had the alpha there, so that if there's any issues like that already, then they pretty much know about them and hopefully are fixing them.
Yeah, but the problem with alpha is it's a small group. For beta, you get a larger audience and you can get a proper stress test. Because
Yep,
that's what happens. I think one Warhammer game years ago. I can't remember which one it was, but one of them didn't do a stress test and they just couldn't function for a long time until they got it fixed.
I'm trying to figure out which one that would be.
I'm trying to remember which one it
Because, yeah,
was.
Dawn of War, yeah, original Dawn of War 2, I believe, had a beta because I played in that, and Dawn of
Yeah,
War 1 definitely had like a demo or early play version of it.
yeah, they did. They both had early demos and playthroughs. Was free. I remember that was free. Free had that problem. They didn't do a beta and it just did not work well at launch.
Is
And
the game that shall be not be named for a reason.
yeah, but this is why I'm hoping they learn their lessons and say, look, give us a beta, let us play it, stress it out to its limit, that you know where you stand, and say, right, it can handle this much at one time. Let's find a way to improve on that.
Yes, yes. The time will tell. I'm optimistic on it doing decently at least. Whereas the success remains to be seen.
Yeah, and like I said before, the burnout side of it, it does boil down to really Dawn of War and Total Warhammer. These are the two that are going to be the ones that are going to decide: are we burnt out or are we still starving for more? If you know what I mean.
Yep. Although a lot of this could be alleviated if Creative Assembly feels they need to delay their game, which is always a possibility too. I don't know if they can get it ready in time for the end of the year.
Mm. I mean, if they delay it, I wouldn't be fussed because to me, it's like okay, it gives Dawn of War more time to shine and let Warhammer have its own time. But you know what I hope to see in Total Warhammer, Total Warhammer 40k?
Say again?
Do you know what I want to see in Total Warhammer 40k? I don't know if you agree with me on this or
I,
not, but I want to see Titans.
I think we all want to, but that's almost like its own type of DLC or expansion on its own, right? To be honest.
Well,
Because if we want to make sure the base vanilla game actually works before we go something that ludicrous.
oh, I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I mean, if you're gonna bring like Titans or the big boys, you would keep that as like your second or third like release kind of game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it generally can be its own like big massive expansion there with the amount of potential titans and the gameplay mechanic changes that just having them on the field would bring.
I mean, let's be honest. You wouldn't shy away from having some Titans on the field because you would probably have fun with the Eldar Phantom Titans.
Stompy stompy.
And I mean, the one thing also we didn't mention about Total Warhammer, the customization you can do, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, that's a plus in my book.
Yep, we have to see how it works though, because Dawn of War 1 really was the only game I can recall, at least of the popular ones, that allowed you to actually customize your factions to like any color tone and limited amounts of areas you can change for the look of. But for Dawn of War 2 and afterwards, and many other games from that point, you just had base color schemes, unfortunately.
Yeah, but I kind of feel with Total Warhammer they will probably try and pull that off, and if they do, and if they pull it off brilliantly, where you can create your own chapters and own clans, I would say, all right, you guys are now really hitting the ground running, and this could get very interesting in a quick hurry.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how much that would improve the quality of the game there, just that little thing, considering we've been starved not having it for so long.
Yep. I mean, yeah, they've got to bring in more races. They can't just leave it with just the three main races and potentially the Imperial Guard. They've got to have at least like a fourth or fifth race to join the party.
It definitely does feel odd there at least, but if we can make it succeed, then kind of like with the long road we have with Total Warhammer itself, there, it definitely will be worth in the end. We just want it to actually be able to hit the ground running, essentially.
Yep. I mean, like I said, if it works and we can get like the big toys to come in, like Titans and big tanks. I mean, oh good lord, can you imagine them doing apocalypse-sized matches?
Yes, yes. And Tau will be interesting considering they only have one Titan type mech walker, and then the rest is like Manta bombers and big giant super bombers.
Oh yeah. I mean, who knows? This could also lead up the same right. People like this. They like big battles. Bring back Epic for 40k version of Epic. But that's another time. But I do believe that's why I think a lot of people are more excited for Total Warhammer than anything else, because the chance of getting like massive battles. I think that's what they're being starved for.
Yeah, people were basically hyping for the potential of 40k version of Total War since Total War Fantasy came out, essentially, because that's kind of what it teased for all these years we've been waiting. It's just really a completely different style of gameplay, arguably, with the larger emphasis on like range combat. Sure, lots of melee units, but they would be more disrupting as opposed to being your main means of fighting.
Oh yes, I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, I mean, the orcs are going to be mostly combating. You could see that with the boys, like models. And
Yes, yes.
I mean, we now know there are gargons and gargons roaming about in both games, so I could not see it out of the realm of possibility that Titans will be around the corner or later down the road. I mean, hell, they could go one step further and go full on Gothic.
Get our naval combat finally, huh?
Well, think about it, right? The mechanics are there from the Gothic games, so it ain't hard to
Yeah,
replicate.
yep, I've been such a fan of Tindalos games there, and hopefully, I'm just gonna tease it for a few years there. Maybe sometime in the near future we'll have some fun with Battlefleet Gothic someday, huh? Right, Black? Right?
Oh yeah, we will, but not quite yet. I've still got to finish this season at the moment, and this season's been a long hauler for me. But now that we've gotten most of that out of the way, there is one question I want to ask not only you but our audience. If
Go on.
if there's any game in the Warhammer 40k fantasy or specialist franchises you would love to see get a video game adaptation or
I already know my answer.
reboot or a sequel, what would it be?
I would love to see a kill team being implemented for a video game at some point, because we got kind of similar stuff with Necromunda and Mordheim already. I would love to see how kill team would work.
I understand. I agree with you on that because we've got enough content in the in Kill Team that they could do it.
Yeah, and if they do it right there with good coordination with Games Workshop and the other developers, Kill Team is kind of like the introduction to 40k in general there because of the smaller scales and how much easier it is to actually play Kill Team since it's essentially one squad of troops. So I wonder if that could be used in some sense to kind of encourage people to go bigger and bolder, and this would be more like the introduction type of game.
Yeah, but however, as many of you may or may not know, Necromunda was an utter bust, unfortunately.
Uh, I really wanted to enjoy that game, but I kept running into bugs. I even tried doing PvP there, and every single video, it basically crashed on me halfway through my PvP matches.
Yeah, so that's the problem. I say it's this is what the game I would love to see make. Well, there's one I want a sequel, and one I want to see have a go. One is the sequel, which is Mordheim, because anyone knows who watches my channel, they know I play Mordheim. I love the game. I would love to see it get a sequel with all the races, cause
Or even a remaster could be interesting, since it technically would be the same game, right? It's not like Games Workshop brought it back there on tabletop, at least with a fresh coat of paint today.
no, they haven't yet. The only thing they brought, what just close is Warcry, but unfortunately, Warcry has pretty much nearly been dead. Because a lot of people want Mordheim back. They don't want Warcry.
Yeah, so I think the sad truth is we're not going to get a proper sequel until the tabletop actually gets updated. So a remaster could be a possibility in the works there.
And funny thing enough is, it's owned by the same group that's made Blood Bowl, which is Focus Entertainment. So I can't say why
Well,
not.
that's the publisher, not the actual developer, mind you.
Yeah, but they
I
still
forget.
have some of the rights, so they could say, look, GW, look, could we bring a remaster out with some more races? Because there is a market for Mordheim, because a lot of people still play it. So
And apparently, it's one of your best type of videos, I think, for your channel, is it? Or at least it's most consistent, I think, is a fair thing to say.
yeah, it's most consistent along with like Blood Bowl and that. But one other thing though, the other game I want to see get a shot, like a fair shake, is Gorka Morka.
Yeah, that I'm not too familiar with, I will be honest. But orc fun is never a bad thing.
Well, the thing is though, right? This is the shock that people not realize. There was actually going to be a Gorka Morka video game on the Sega Saturn. But
We're
unfortunately,
going way back.
yep. But unfortunately, the Sega Saturn, unfortunately, it panned, and well, it didn't come out. And for those unaware of the story of Gorka Morka, it's basically Necromunda, but doing it Orky style.
Lots and lots of orc nonsense.
And to be honest, if they came out and said, "Look, we're going to do a Gorka Morka video game," I can tell you right now, many Orc players would love to play that.
Who knows? It could be the next route the Necromunda and Mordheim team might go there. Although, have they? It really comes down to if they recovered from how badly Necromunda did for them.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, all they had to do with Necromunda is quite simple: do what Mordheim did, and you're laughing. It was not a hard concept.
We'll have to see there.
Yeah.
But it could be a fun time. It's another route to go for that company. Yeah, I'm just trying to check the Necromunda and Mordheim to see if they are actually by the same developer or not.
No, I don't think they are. They're from separate teams. From separate.
Well, that explains everything then why Necromunda whiffed.
The problem with Necromunda is they tried to be similar to Mordheim, but Mordheim was more polished, more refined, and all that. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, I guess so. It definitely was around for a lot longer. It's definitely showing its age now, though, at this point.
Oh, it's showing its age. No doubt about that. It's showing its age. But at the same time, you have to admit, Mordheim shows, look, Kill Team could do it. Could become like this. Okay, with a bit more up-to-date graphics and mechanics, but it could take like cues from Mordheim how to do it. Cause
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see there.
oh, it would be, but I believe that's a perfect opportunity to wrap up.
I think so. This has been a fun time there. I'm getting all excited for the year of 40K, essentially.
Yep. And to you, the audience, what do you think? Are you looking forward to any of these games? What game would you like to see get a sequel or a return or even a new game? Have you got any thoughts? Leave a comment in the comment section below. Check my buddy's channel in the description below. And we'll see you next time.
See ya!